Hey YouTube, this is Wheelchair21 and this is another DVD Spotlight. Today's DVD Spotlight is a double feature, and it is Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, Mothra, Tokyo SOS. As you can see, there's a new different type of Mechagodzilla for the Millennium Saga, and it's actually both direct sequels. Some of the only two, actually, it's the only two Godzilla movies in the Millennium Saga to actually be direct sequels to one another. One takes place about 6 to 8 months later after the first one, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. This time around, somehow a mysteriously new Godzilla has appeared in Japan after being gone for almost 40 years. And it's been terrorizing Japan. In result, they've been using the maser tanks, which they used against Mothra and the Gargantuas, which supposedly are now taking place also in this timeline. So the existence of Mothra, which lead into Tokyo SOS. So after creating the maser tank, they discover that doesn't work against Godzilla, and for a while they're wondering how they're going to beat Godzilla, with the resulting being make a Mechagodzilla. This time, Mechagodzilla is not a robot or using future technology. They're actually designing the robot to be around the original skeleton of the first Godzilla killed by Dr. Serizawa back in 1954. The result being that because of the DNA in the original Godzilla is still in Mechagodzilla, from time to time Mechagodzilla would act on its own because the spirit would take over the systems. So it was pretty much the ghost in the machine syndrome, that the ghost of the Godzilla took over Mechagodzilla at one point and ends up destroying bits of Japan. Most of the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Tokyo SOS both have female main roles. The main role in this one was that the female was actually the pilot for Mechagodzilla, where the female in this one was technically a co-star, but helped out the main guy, who was a mechanic, who was the nephew actually of one of the guys from the first Mothra movie. I can't remember exactly because it's been so long since I actually watched Tokyo SOS to remember which character it was from the Mothra series. That it was his nephew of, that was the mechanic that has to get into Mechagodzilla to fix it. But in Mechagodzilla, technically they discovered Mechagodzilla is pretty much a ghost in the machine and has to defeat Godzilla. They defeat Godzilla by freezing him with the Sub-Zero blaster, which only works once in the movie. It also cameos Hideki Matsui, because at this time when the movie was filmed, Hideki was leaving Japan to go to the Yankees. So he makes a cameo role in this not once but twice. In all, the movie would go into a direct sequel, as I already said, of Tokyo SOS. Tokyo SOS quickly goes into a flashback of what happened in the last movie, and that this time the original crew members are going to America to get further training on how to pilot Mechagodzilla better, and learn from international pilots and mechanics how they can make Mechagodzilla work better, and hopefully the second crew is now in control of Mechagodzilla. They battle Godzilla, and they're seeing it's not working. They say the Shogun, or how they call the Twin Fairies of Mothra, come saying, "You got it to return Godzilla's skeleton to the sea. In return, we'll give Mothra to you to fight Godzilla." They don't believe it, but the grandson of the one guy from original Mothra and the mechanic's younger nephew make the Mothra symbol out of his not his high school, but his middle school classroom desks, summoning Mothra to Japan. Mothra comes, helps to fight Godzilla, but they see that Mothra itself can't defeat Godzilla alone, so then they're forced to send in Mechagodzilla to help it. In the end, Mothra dies, but eggs hatch and brings in the two Mothra larvae. So it's pretty much a remake of the original Mothra combining in with Mechagodzilla for the final showdown, where they web up Godzilla, and Mechagodzilla works again and wakes up on its own, taking Godzilla out to sea. And at the very end, when the one person who wanted to return to the sea and helped fix Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla, it says at the very end, "Thank you," on the computers, saying that Godzilla was actually thanking this one person who actually was trying to give the original Godzilla a burial at sea, trying to return its body to its resting grounds, which shows somewhat how the original Godzilla supposedly had a change of heart as Mechagodzilla by defeating its counterpart. Now, some people don't know this, but if you watch the end of the credits, they show this facility with a Godzilla cell in a test tube, and as it zooms out, it's like a freezing unit, and it says, Godzilla cell DNA research, which means out there somewhere another country has Godzilla cells and are genetically cloning it, which made you believe that there was going to be actually a third movie to this. And all the movies are great. They're probably some of the best movies in the Millennium Saga. They rank up there at least with Suzuki Kaniko's Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, which is probably the highest ranked Millennium Saga film out of the Godzilla series. All I can say is that I enjoy the movies. I love the designs of Kiryu, as they call Mechagodzilla in the first movie. So I just keep calling it Kiryu in the second movie, even though they stopped calling it Kiryu. The whole plot is great by making it that this takes like a few of the past movies and other Toho events and puts it into one, and excludes all the Showa and Heisei era stuff, and just leaves it at Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and like War of the Gargantuas somewhat took place in the same timeline. And I like how they kind of remake Godzilla vs. Mothra in a modern day era, that instead of fighting on an island, they're actually fighting in Japan itself, and the Mothra larvas are hiding in the cities instead of in rocks. So I like that. I enjoyed the whole ending, the kind of climactic ending, or the sad ending where actually Godzilla takes over Mechagodzilla again and says thank you for returning me back to the sea. And that's all I gotta say, really, is that it's really worth getting. They actually, I think, sell these in two different sets, but you can get them pretty cheap on their own separately. But it's easy to get it in the collection sets, that you can get pretty much that and Final Wars, I think, and Son of Godzilla. The one I got was the Tokyo SOS, Son of Godzilla, and shit, what was that? Oh yeah, and the Mechagodzilla set collection. They're worth it. Buy it, rent it. I don't know if they're on Netflix. I think Tokyo SOS is, but not against Mechagodzilla. You gotta actually rent that one from Netflix. So, that's all I gotta say. And this was a double feature of Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Bye.